We have a new Impact Wrestling World Champion. That's right, Eric Young defeated Eddie Edwards last night on Impact Wrestling. A bit of a shocking result, I must say. I did the preview yesterday and I spoke about, is Eric Young going to defeat Eddie Edwards? What's going to be the case of Eddie Edwards and Eric Young? So much changed over the last 7 days in terms of my opinion on that match, what's going to happen, what was going to happen. And I was caught off guard. I must say I was caught off guard with that result last night. I really was. You know, I made the video last week saying that if it was me and if I was in charge of creative of Impact Wrestling right now, I'd switch the bout. I'd have Eric Young become the world champion because I think he's the hottest thing going in Impact right now. I think he's the best heel, the top heel in the company. I just think Eric Young at the moment in Impact Wrestling is money. I think he's the best thing that they've got. Out of all the guys that debuted or returned to the company at Slammiversary, Eric Young, he's the guy. He's the one that's been impressed the most. He's the one that's every segment he's had, every moment in front of the camera he's had since he returned to Impact Wrestling, he's been the best. He really has, and you have to strike while the iron's hot, right? If something is going well, if something is getting over to the level that Eric Young is in Impact Wrestling right now, you had to switch the title. So last week, when I spoke about the Eric Young Eddie Edwards match, I said if it was me, I'd switch the title. And I thought it was a possibility then. Then last week, or this week rather, whatever, we then had the report from Fightful of the Bound for Glory card, the scheduled Bound for Glory card, and the main event of Bound for Glory, according to Fightful. I don't know if this has changed since then, but the main event for Bound for Glory was Eddie Edwards defending the World Championship against Ken Shamrock, which, again, took me very off guard because my thought process at the time was, why? Eric Young seems to be, to me, like the guy to be the world champion. He's on all the promotion for Bound for Glory, all of that stuff. So when I did the preview yesterday, my thought process was I don't think Eric Young's going to win now because they're going in a different direction. But I'm so thankful, I'm so happy, and I was pleasantly surprised with Impact Wrestling's decision to put the World Championship on Eric Young last night. So let's talk about it. Let's discuss it. Let's look at the implications here of what was absolutely the right call by Impact Wrestling. But first, before we do, let's have a quick word from one of the great supporters of WrestleNews 365. Yep, that's right. It's Manscaped. Support for WrestleNews 365 is brought to you by Manscaped, who is the best in men's below-the-waist grooming. Manscaped offers precision-engineered tools for your family jewels. Now, Manscaped, for all of my UK fans out there, Manscaped just launched in the UK. Over here in the United Kingdom, we have gone for years and years and years without using the right tools for the job. But now you can be one of the first men in England to experience their life-changing product. But it's not just limited to all of the great fans over here in the UK. This offer goes worldwide, so all of my friends over in America and around the world that are listening to this offer still does apply for you. You can still use our code. But I've got to tell you a quick story first. Now, there have been so many times, right? I'm a guy. You gotta groom down there, fellas, right? That's the most important thing. You gotta keep yourself trimmed. You gotta keep yourself proper. And a lot of the time, I've been guilty of this, of using the wrong tools for the job. I've had incidences, I'm not afraid to say it, where things have been nicked, snagged, or in fact cut down there because I wasn't being careful enough and using the right equipment. Now that just shouldn't happen. That shouldn't happen. You don't want to be worrying about cutting yourself down there. Do you know how painful that is? I can tell you, it hurts quite a lot. And I wish and hope to God it never happens to me again, and it won't happen to me ever again because I'm using Manscaped products. That's why Manscaped has redesigned the electric trimmer. The Manscaped engineering team has perfected the greatest ball hair trimmer ever created. Big statement, but it's absolutely true. They have just released the new and improved Lawnmower 3.0 in the UK. It's also available around the world as well. Their third generation trimmer features a cutting edge ceramic blade to reduce grooming accidents. So those cuts and snags that I was telling you about before are a thing of the past. And let me tell you, when I tell you this is premium, I mean premium. The battery will last up to 90 minutes so you can get a longer, perfect shave. And not only that, you don't want to be cutting yourself and trimming yourself all over the bathroom, getting hair all over the place. That's just disgusting. The lawnmower has a waterproof technology that allows you to groom in the shower, so no more mess. And one of the coolest features, one of my favourite features about the lawnmower is the LED light, which illuminates grooming areas for a closer and more precise trimming experience. So you can shave longer, you can shave more precisely, and you can shave in the shower. What more did I need to tell you? They've also upgraded to a 7,000 RPM motor with quiet stroke technology, and let's not forget about the charging stand. You can show off your mower loud and proud because this intelligently designed stand is a convenient charging dock powered by USB. So, if you are listening to me speak right now, I want you to experience it firsthand for yourself. Let's get that bush to tush clean, and you can get 20% off and free shipping. Yeah, you heard me right there. 20% off and free shipping. All you have to do is use the code 365wrestle at manscaped.com. Make your testies their besties. That's 20% off and free shipping. Not only are you getting 20% off, you're getting free shipping as well with the code 365wrestle at manscaped.com. That's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com, and use the code 365wrestle. Your balls will thank you. So Eric Young is the new Impact Wrestling World Champion. We knew that the match was happening last night, Eric Young versus Eddie Edwards. They've been building to this and teasing this ever since the post-Slammiversary episode of Impact Wrestling. It's been on the cards for a very, very long time. We knew it was coming, and I gotta be honest, I didn't see the title change coming. A week ago, I would have said absolutely, and then maybe I got a little bit cold feet, or the reports by the likes of Fightful about the Bound for Glory charge, as I mentioned at the start of this video, changed my mind slightly and made me think that they're going in a different direction. Maybe that was a red herring by Impact Wrestling. I don't know. All I know is that they made absolutely the right call by having Eric Young become the Impact World Champion. So let's go through the match, a little bit of a rundown of the match. So Eric Young hit a net breaker on the ring apron as he targeted the neck of Eddie Edwards. Eric Young got a lot of offense in this match. He really did. He continued to dominate Eddie Edwards with multiple forearm shivers. Eddie Edwards managed to fight back, hit a Blue Thunder bomb to finally create some separation, regain his bearings, try and get a foothold in the match. He hit a backpack stunner out of the corner for a 2 count. We then had Eric Young hit his elbow drop for a near fall. Eric Young, by the way, a little underappreciated how good his elbow drop is. That elbow drop in Impact Wrestling has seen some very iconic moments. Off the top of my head, I think he's at least done the dive off the cage with the elbow drop at least twice, I think. So that elbow drop is very underrated. One of the snuggest elbow drops in the game, absolutely. Eddie Edwards hit a slingshot crossbody to the floor, but they really sold that Eddie Edwards might have hurt his knee in the process, and he buckled his knee. So that was a nice spot, and they played that up throughout the match. It was a great match. It really, really was a really solid match, and it was one of those matches, though, that the story coming out of it is the most important thing. So I think the match might be forgotten about slightly, but the match was very solid, psychologically, really, really sound, really, really sound. So at one point, it looks like Eddie Edwards has Eric Young beat. He hits the Tiger Driver, but because of this injured knee that he had earlier on in the match, he couldn't get the strong pin in, which again, psychology, fantastic. Now, Eric Young, he grabs the world title, but it only serves as a distraction so that Eric Young can actually hit Eddie Edwards over the head with the hockey mask. Eric Young then followed this up with the pile driver to win the match and become the new Impact Wrestling World Champion. After the match, it wasn't done though. Eric Young attacks Eddie Edwards after the bell, and that's how Impact Wrestling goes off the air on Access TV. Eric Young, the world champion, the former world champion Eddie Edwards, is laying down in the middle of the ring, defeated, and without his world championship, as the world-class Maniac is the Impact World Champion once again. And as I mentioned, it was the right call. It was absolutely the right call. I didn't see it coming because of the reports by Fightful last week, and as I mentioned during that video, Fightful have a very good reputation for news and insider information, but especially you have to look beyond that and look at their relationship with Impact Wrestling. Fightful, over the last few months especially, have had a great relationship with the promotion. They have been the first to report many exclusive stories about Impact Wrestling, whether it's people debuting with the company or backstage arguments and fights. There was a fight between Sami Callihan and Michael Elgin that they were first to report on, and Sean Ross Sapp really does have his his sources in Impact Wrestling. And I think Impact Wrestling, in comparison to maybe some other promotions, they really do work with the pro wrestling journalists and pro wrestling websites. They have a very good discussion with them and a very open conversation with them. And actually, I do know this, that Eric Young has subsequently done a lot of interviews with the likes of Fightful and other websites. They actually did that prior to the result airing last night. That's how good a relationship that Impact Wrestling have with a lot of these websites. So the fact that Fightful released this last week, it changed a lot of people's minds, mine included, because before that was released, going into this, I thought Eric Young has to win. He has to win. And my mind was changed because of the report, because I thought that's where Impact were going. But it was absolutely the right call to have Eric Young become the world champion. It really was. You change plans. You have to listen to the audience, you have to listen to the product, and you have to see what's in front of you. You change plans and you go with what's over. You go with what's hot. Eric Young, for me, I've been saying this for several weeks now, Eric Young is the best thing in Impact Wrestling right now. It absolutely is. He's the guy. Nobody can touch him in Impact Wrestling right now. And he's the perfect guy to be the world champion in Impact Wrestling. He absolutely is. Now, I spoke about Fightful, about their relationship with Impact Wrestling and the company. And with this World Championship win, Fightful have actually reported that Eric Young has now signed an exclusive 2-year deal with the company. So I don't know to hand the details of Eric Young's deal with Impact prior to signing this new deal. I would assume it was probably a short-term deal that had maybe some options, a bit like EC3, whereby he could probably go to Ring of Honor, maybe even do dates in Japan if he really wanted to, although I don't think Eric Young would. But now that's all changed. He signed an exclusive 2-year deal with the company. He's not going to be appearing anywhere else but Impact Wrestling, and it's a huge get for Impact Wrestling. It really is. Eric Young is, at this point, synonymous with the promotion, right? His whole career has been really based in this company. Obviously, he had the WWE and NXT years, but when you look at a career retrospective, Eric Young's going to be remembered for his time in Impact Wrestling, whether it's part of Team Canada, whether it's the comedy guy, whether it's Super Eric, whether it's being part of World Elite, his marriage to ODB, world champion, Daniel Bryan style, underdog babyface. He's done it all really in the company, and at this point, to have him tied down to an exclusive 2-year deal is great for Eric Young, but it's also great for Impact Wrestling, because I really do think that Eric Young, at this stage in his career, possibly is doing the best work of his career. And that's a big statement, but there aren't many people right now in professional wrestling, in my opinion, that are doing better work than Eric Young. I really do think that. I think his heel run so far, since returning at Slammiversary, has just been that good. It really has been. And as I mentioned previously, last week, I thought it was really possible that Eric Young wins the match and becomes the world champion. We know, and I still do think this is the case, that Eric Young is going to be facing Rich Swann at Bound for Glory. That was according to Fightful as well. And that makes a lot of sense, considering the angles that they've shot between Eric Young and Rich Swann, whether it was at Slammiversary attacking the injured ankle, the surgically repaired ankle, and then obviously the big retirement angle with Rich Swann and Eric Young attacking him then once again. And you have to look at all of the stories really being told in this angle involving Rich Swann, Eddie Edwards, and Eric Young. The attacks on Rich Swann obviously are to build up to a match between Swann and Eric Young later on, probably for Bound for Glory. But also they served as the entrance to the Eric Young versus Eddie Edwards feud, because while Rich Swann is away and he has to sell the injury and he's going to be off TV at least until October, at the very, very least. Whilst he's selling that, Eric Young needs to continue momentum. He needs to stay hot, and that was to facilitate the feud between him and Eddie Edwards. And I think, in my opinion, I don't know this for certain, but I would speculate that maybe Eric Young becoming the world champion wasn't the plan when Eric Young first came in at Slammiversary. But Impact, they're not dumb, and they're willing to change the plans. They've seen the work that Eric Young's done here. They've seen the work that Eric Young has done at Slammiversary and for the Rich Swann angle and the critical reception it's got online, that unanimously everyone has said not only is Eric Young phenomenal at the moment. The whole Rich Swann, Eric Young angles and feud is one of the best things in professional wrestling right now. It's certainly one of the most compelling angles that Impact Wrestling has done in a long, long time. Now, I was concerned going into this match last night. I thought, is Rich Swann going to appear and get involved? Is he going to appear on the screen? I thought it's way too soon for him to get physically involved. That's just probably not the right thing. I mean, the guy only retired a couple of weeks ago, and he was even attacked then by Eric Young, so that didn't make sense. And there were lots of reasons, in addition to Fightful, why I thought, they're not going to do the title change, even though I felt like they should. One being that Eddie Edwards was going to have a short title reign, and he has. He has had a short title reign. He only won the title at Slammiversary in July, and we're now at the start of September. It was September 1st, the date of Impact Wrestling this week. So he held the title for maybe about, 6 weeks? About 6 weeks? That's a short title reign. It's a very short title reign. And I think Eddie Edwards so far I thought he had a good title reign. I really do. I think the open challenge format now makes a lot of sense as well, because if Eddie Edwards had just lost the title on his second defense or something, or his first defense 6 weeks later, that wouldn't have looked good for Eddie Edwards. But because he was defending the title every week on Impact Wrestling, he had multiple title defenses, so he did have some form of credibility as a champion. He doesn't come out of this loss to Eric Young really, really damaged by it. Obviously, he's not going to be the world champion now, so that will hurt him. But I think there's no shame in losing the title to Eric Young, because Eric Young right now is so over. So over. And I'm usually not a fan of short title reigns, but as I said previously in some of the videos, you have to go with what's hot. You have to go with what's hot. Eric Young recently has been phenomenal. He's my favorite act in Impact right now. I think some of his work is up there with the best in professional wrestling right now. He's the top heel in Impact Wrestling. He feels like a big deal. He feels like a main event player. He's on a massive roll. And then you also have to look at the promotional aspects of this. Eric Young is all over the Bound for Glory advertisements. You've seen the video packages on social media and on Impact recently with Eric Young being in the prison. He's playing multiple people. He's playing up this world-class maniac character. And the reason that he's on all of these promotional videos for Bound for Glory and front and center for Impact Wrestling right now is because there's nobody better in Impact Wrestling than him right now. In terms of a character, in terms of week-to-week storytelling and programming, every single segment Eric Young is in, whether it's a promo, whether it's a match, whether it's a backstage vignette, Eric Young is knocking it out of the park. If he was a Major League Baseball guy right now, he'd be batting 100%. Because I can't think of a single segment or an interview or a match or whatever that Eric Young has done in Impact Wrestling recently that hasn't been near perfection. And that's, again, a big statement, and people might think I'm being over the top when I say that, but it's absolutely true. He's the top heel in the company. And Impact have all of this footage and all of this history that they can use with Eric Young. They can show the evolution of his career and how his character and how his style has evolved from his first days in Team Canada to the comedy guy, to Super Eric, to whatever, and right until now where he's the world champion once again. It's smart. It's absolutely smart. And I mentioned a couple of weeks ago that I would switch the belt, and I'm really glad that they've done that. I really am. And Impact Wrestling are smart. They know that right now they're getting some of the best ratings that they've ever got on Access TV. Impact Wrestling Weekly is, and by far, the highest rated show on the network. It gets the most viewers every single week. There has been such a buzz around Impact Wrestling right now ever since Slammiversary. That continued through Impact Emergence, and then last night we have a world title switch on a regular episode of Impact on Access TV. If you're a casual fan and you've seen all of this great stuff and newsworthy stuff that's happening on Impact Wrestling every week, whether it is a pay-per-view, whether it's a TV special, or whether it's just a regular episode of Impact, you're shocking the audience every single week, and you're getting people to watch knowing that, hey, I've got to watch this week, something might happen. That's how you keep up momentum. So I'm absolutely glad. I think it was the right call. I was concerned that I didn't think he would lose clean last night, Eric Young. I felt if he did lose, there would be some form of shenanigans. I'm glad that they didn't. I think they did protect Eddie Edwards by having him sell an injury, and we had Eric Young use a foreign object for the victory. So I think Eddie Edwards was protected in that. I think in the way that they book this, Eddie Edwards is great as a world champion, but I think his role is better when he's chasing the title as opposed to defending it. And that is just, I think, par for the course with the underdog babyface character, is that it's all about the chase and not necessarily about defending it. The victory's a big moment for them, but them defending it every week and that underdog style babyface, it does get old quickly when it's a champion. Whereas when they're chasing, it's more compelling week to week. Whereas you have someone like Eric Young, the heel, defending it, using sneaky ways to win, a world-class maniac. That, to me, that's how I prefer to have the world champion. So once again, I think it was absolutely the right call by Eric Young to have Eric Young become the world champion. Now, I did pitch yesterday that potentially we could see the switch and possibly have Eric Young drop the title a few weeks later, have Rich Swann return then and cost him the title. That way, you have the Eric Young versus Rich Swann match at Bound for Glory, and you can also set up the rumored Eddie Edwards versus Ken Shamrock match for the world title. However, my concern there would be you've got back-to-back short title reigns. Is that the best idea? Probably not. I think the last night's title change was the right thing to do because they had to change plans because Eric Young is so hot and doing so great at the moment. But is Rich Swann returning going to cost him the title? I don't know. Have they changed the main event of Bound for Glory here? Possibly. Now, does Eric Young versus Rich Swann, which I still think is the direction they're going in, does that match need the world title? You know what? I don't think so. I think the rivalry is so personal at this point, and they've invested so much time and shot some very big angles and emotionally heavy angles with the Rich Swann retirement. Does it need to have a world title on there? Probably not. However, if you really wanted to crown Rich Swann as a top guy in the company, not only do you have Rich Swann return from an improbable retirement, so his return to the ring is miraculous, but then you have him become the world champion as well, have a real crowning moment. That would be a big deal. So I could see that, but in my opinion, I don't think Rich Swann versus Eric Young needs the world title. I think if you're going to do Eddie Edwards versus Ken Shamrock, that match probably does, because otherwise Eddie Edwards versus Ken Shamrock doesn't do anything for me. However, the concern is there, and I mentioned this when we covered Bound for Glory, and I've seen your comments as well on the channel, that Eddie Edwards versus Ken Shamrock doesn't feel like a Bound for Glory main event to me on its own. Unless you're going to have a deal where it maybe is Ken Shamrock's last match with the company, that match just doesn't do it for me, and I don't think that's worthy of being a Bound for Glory main event, arguably your biggest show of the year. So maybe that's why they've gone, look, we probably need to double down on Eric Young versus Rich Swann, put the world title on it, because that feels like a bigger main event as opposed to Eddie Edwards versus Ken Shamrock. So, as I mentioned, Eric Young, for me, he's the biggest and best heel in Impact Wrestling right now. He's continuing to prove, Eric Young, at this point, that he can do everything in pro wrestling. He really can. He can be the comedy babyface. He can be the psycho heel. He can be the underdog hero like Eddie Edwards is. But Eric Young can also be a calculated villain. His versatility at this point in Impact Wrestling is incredible. It's absolutely incredible. And as I mentioned, it was absolutely the right call for Eric Young to become the new world champion last night, because he's the best thing going in Impact right now. He's the best thing going. He is the top heel in the company, arguably doing the best work of his career. Since returning to the company, Eric Young has been untouchable, in my opinion. He's been absolutely untouchable. So, absolutely the right call. Congratulations to Eric Young. Big get as well for Impact, signing him to a 2-year exclusive deal. We've got 2 years of Eric Young doing absolutely great things on Impact. Another fantastic show. I'll be doing a video that will drop later today about the Knockouts division, since we had a surprising Knockouts return last night as well, and we'll touch on Wrestle House 2. There's so many great things going on right now in Impact Wrestling that it's just a pleasure to watch and a pleasure to talk about. But of course, as always, this is just one man's opinion. What are your thoughts on Eric Young's World Championship victory last night on Impact Wrestling? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I'll be sure to respond and reply to all of your comments. Really enjoy interacting with you guys on this channel. If you have enjoyed this video, please do smash a like on the like button too. Really does help us out here on YouTube, go up the rankings and get into people's recommendation feeds if they haven't seen our videos before. But most importantly, if you haven't already, please do subscribe to Wrestle News 365. You can do that by clicking the bottom right hand corner of the screen right now, or if you wait a few seconds, there will be a subscribe button at the end of this video along with another video for you to watch. on our way to 800 subscribers on that long road to 1,000. So if you haven't already, please do subscribe. You can also follow us on our social media platforms. The handles are on the screen right now. The links are in the description box below. It's at 365Wrestle on Twitter and at WrestleNews365 on Facebook and Instagram. So be sure to give us a like or a follow there if you haven't already. Thank you very much for watching, listening, streaming, or however you come across this video today. And I'll speak to you again very, very soon. Hey guys, thank you for watching, listening, streaming, or however you come across this video today. Be sure to click on the video on the right there to watch our next video, or click the bottom there to subscribe, or the bottom right hand corner. Thank you very much, and I'll speak to you again very soon.